pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. All right, looking at the agenda, the next item is the minutes. The minutes are in your packet. I don't know if it says pending on here, but if everyone had a chance to review them. Any questions? I just have a quick. Seems like Betty's always getting caught up in this, on the minutes thing, but she's both in attendance and absent. Michelle, is that just a Zoom thing?
I will correct that. No, she was absent for the last meeting.
All right, it must, it has in the first line via Zoom, she was here, but then not here, so. Yeah, if you can correct that or as amended, I don't think, I didn't see anything else. Anyone else have any corrections, amendments?
Yes, Tim was also absent and Joe, so I have to remove them from the attendance.
And
Well, I think you clarified that, they're absent from the meeting. That's fine, right?
Yeah, Larry, you're noted as via Zoom.
I was not, I was here by being here. Don't you remember the pleasure you had seeing me?
I was here by the.
I really was, there were 5 of us.
You're right.
That's right. Larry was here, I remember.
Larry was virtually physical.
Yeah.
So maybe just a little attention, to the attendance, paragraph. I think everything else looks good to us. Anyone have any?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Didn't see anything else.
Other than that, it looks in good shape. Anyone else have any corrections, omissions? Seeing none, I have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved. So moved.
Mr. Bolton makes a motion, seconded by the chair, Alan Costello. No discussion. We don't have, do we have any members on
We don't
Zoom?
have many here.
So we don't have to do a roll call at this time?
No.
So, at this time, I'd like to take a vote on the minutes. All in favor? I see 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 in favor. Any abstentions? I'm assuming there's gonna be 4 abstentions. And there's 0 no's, so. What does that mean? It doesn't carry for tonight? Oh, it does carry? All right.
5 in favor, 2 abstentions.
Oh, there's
3.
5 in favor. I thought it was 4 and 4. I'm
There's
sorry.
4 and 4. There was four abstentions.
Mike, Joe, and Tim.
And me.
Am I-
Oh, I'm sorry. no.
I didn't read them.
Okay.
Okay, so it passes with 4 yes votes. Very good. All right, any public comment? Anyone on Zoom this evening wish to be heard in public comment at this time? Not seeing any. Is there any at the table here? Public comment, anything that was spoken in the past about or anything that you'd like to speak about? Not seeing any public comment from the committee. We'll go right into, line item 5, discussion items. There's been a, request to reconsider the composition of the committee of precinct chairs as it pertains to vice chairman being sworn in as members of, the precinct chairs. This is, ineligible, relative precinct chairs. This is brought by our committee member, Ms. Cavaco would like to have it revisited. Mr. Paiza?
Could I ask the vote originally to
Or
support?
original vote? That's a great question. I don't have that handy. Let's see if we can figure from our minutes. I don't have all the minutes. Do you have any recollection of when we might have addressed that?
No. No. I have no idea. Maybe.
Where is this?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
That's,
There was no vote on that. That was brought up at the last meeting and someone said, I think Steve said, let's just put it on our next agenda.
No, I understand that, but initially during our discussion way back, I don't know, probably 6, 8 months ago, that was a votable item.
Yeah, most, I
And I,
forget ones.
I don't
I will
remember.
look at some past, charters.
Yeah, just give us, yeah, we'll take a quick look, see if we can find something, just quickly, and then, it's a good question.
Yeah, and I've got to figure out which item it technically was under when we talked about creating the COPC.
Well,
You have a number for them?
I'm gonna look it up right now for you, I believe it's under the committee of precinct chairs, it might be,
or even a pay.
But it was originally 2-3-5/2-3-11 or 2-4-11.
I don't know if it was ever in the charter as a,
Yeah, it was in two places.
But never the substance of that, so we had to have a separate discussion regarding that.
You think you guys three?
It's not 2, sorry, it's,
Seven something.
We didn't check, no, that's created. Charter created public.
presently, right now, it's 7-1-1. In our revised,
that's, yeah,
that's the topic we're gonna speak about, but the question was a great question, what was the original vote?
Yeah, I didn't. I don't
I'm gonna
have
check the minutes of January 2nd.
Okay, appreciate it.
office.
January 2nd.
Yeah, so originally, sorry, it's 2-11-4 was one of the provisions addressing the COPC. And there was an earlier two provisions that talked about them taking action per 2-4-11.
Yeah, I found
It's
it.
2-3-4
and 2-3-5.
3-5.
But does it make,
But that would at least address when we might have talked about that.
oh, okay,
That's the
you
reason.
see it in, January 2nd?
I don't.
You don't see it?
But
Well,
you
what is
say-
she trying to change that one? I mean, is she trying to?
She wants to eliminate the, vice chair, she wants to make
So
it,
that.
that
would
was
be-
the, what's that?
Wouldn't that be on, 7-?
7-1-1.
Yeah.
We had voted that we were going to have both a chairperson and a vice chair be
Yeah.
sworn in.
So that's what she wants to change though.
Should like to at this time go back and revisit it and eliminate the vice chairs
Right,
as potential participants at COPC.
right.
If I could,
Mr. Pine, go right ahead till we get your
let me
answer.
explain why
Your rationale,
I'm
yeah?
asking the question. I think that if somebody had additional information on a subject, the next week would have been an excellent time to bring the information up. What concerns me is, like judge shopping, which we all think is kind of iffy. I don't know who the votes were at the time. I don't object to someone trying to change my mind. I know how I voted on the subject. But if we have a different makeup tonight, it will make me feel uncomfortable because I have a matter that I think was horrible. And I haven't brought it up because as horrible as it was, I lost. And I don't have any additional information to bring to the subject. Someday you people will understand how smart I am and it'll all come through. But I didn't think it was appropriate to bring it back. It's not illegal. I fully understand that. And the only question is it a good idea for this committee? To who might have a different makeup, you know, because we've added and subtracted.
Who's actually voting?
No, it's a very
Oh, I
valid
see what
point.
you're saying, we've lost two members due to a bunch of different reasons that they voted for or against it at the time, and now they're not here, so it's like roll the dice.
Steve, go right ahead. Hang on.
Couple of different things to address Mr. Pizer's point. So, and again, I hate speaking for someone else. I only know that Betty talked to me about it. That's why I suggested I called Alan to say, to put it on the agenda. The rationale was that as we have gone through the charter, we have changed the role of the COPC. We have given them different types of authority as opposed to what they originally had, which was almost a purely advisory role, and now they actually have significant appointment authority and a defined role and remedy that gives them more, and I don't want to use the word power because I don't like that, it's not, but more authority within our charter.
Responsibility.
Yeah, they have defined responsibility within our charter. And with that in mind, the question was raised, why are they being treated differently than other committees? Given that you have that same circumstance in which the irony being, Mr. Pizer, that you've just raised one of the reasons why she wants to change it. Because if you have vice chairs showing up sometimes and chairs showing up sometimes, you can literally have a different makeup of that committee. If you look at just the existing members and use your standard math of 18 factorial, the number of combinations and permutations of members that you could have would go on for about 15 years. And so you're getting no consistency in terms of that. You could ironically have a vote one week and literally at the next month's meeting, have such a different group of people, they could overturn the prior vote. Because they have different bodies that are there, so there's no consistency. Same thing, if you have a matter that's continued over 3 meetings, you probably will never have the same 3 groups of people considering and hearing each instance and finally voting. So that was the issue there, given that they're given this new responsibility. That specifically some very important appointment responsibilities, that there should be some consistency, and the consistency must be that every other body in this town, every other one, you're appointed to it or you're elected to it, and you're the body who attends. You don't get to turn around and say, well, I can't make it this week, I'm gonna send somebody else. Why should the COPC have a luxury that no other town board, committee, commission, anyone else can do? That was the rationale.
Mr. Pfizer, go ahead.
I have an answer to that question.
All right.
Because the word precinct is in the committee of precinct chairs. Have experience in this sort of thing. About 3 years ago, Bill Cohan was the chair of precinct 3. He was unable to attend a meeting, and he asked one of our excellent town meeting members, Ann Pizer, to attend. She was vice chair at the time, to attend in his place. Both Bill and Ann were representing precinct 3 and providing precinct 3's views. So the idea that there isn't consistency is not one that I would buy. The members of the committee of precinct chairs, individuals that they are individuals representing their precinct. And the idea that if a one person for whatever illness caused that person not to be in attendance, caused the entire precinct's influence to disappear, think that's why we did this in the first place.
I don't disagree, we'll have Joe, then Tim.
If the precinct had voted as a precinct, then I would, agree with Mr. Piser's point. But you'll take an individual, who might vote one way and then, the vice chair who might vote in a completely different way. There having been no established vote for the precinct.
Mr. Lawler?
We're making history right now. I agree with Joe. I was gonna say the same exact thing. Good one, Joe. Thank you.
I'm sure I said it better.
Well.
Yes, you did.
I'm sorry.
You did.
Great.
I mean, well, it was Larry.
You did great.
And I'm with Larry to a degree, I mean, I advocated back when we took this vote, and I, for the life of me, can't remember when it was or what the number was, but I pushed that. In all fairness, all 9 precinct members should be eligible to get out of that meeting. And it's a good compromise between this committee, we came up with vice chairs and chairs. But just recently, it's sort of becoming a glaring problem. And Joe may remember this from the last precinct chairs meeting. I think there was nearly a third of the precinct chairs, the chairperson, were not at the meeting. And they sent down their the vice chair, and I think in one case there was one even lower.
Well, there's several clerks.
Clerk. And I've started to see it as a problem, because to Steve's point, we are starting to take up some sort of heavy duty articles and discussions and talks, whether we should or shouldn't, that's gonna be for, a future committee to come up with, but you can't have 2 things. You can't have people abstaining, which they tend to do if they just showed up for their very first meeting, so you're not getting a true vote. And I saw it for the first time in the last committee of precinct chairs meeting, it's sort of a problem, and I stood very defiantly and fought for the vice chairs. And tonight, if this gets to the point of a vote, I may go the other way, because I think maybe we're getting to a serious situation where that committee has some merit now, and you just can't have somebody come down there not prepared to vote on something, or just not be prepared overall. So I think if it gets the motion to talk about it or vote on it, I think it should be seriously discussed, because I think things have changed a little bit. Maybe it's not new information, but things have changed, in my opinion. I will take Martha and then Mr. Bolton.
I wanted to ask Michelle if you found the place in our minutes where we took the vote that we're talking about having chair and vice chair of the precinct, COPC.
I still
Yeah.
have not found the reference.
I wish I had mine.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I have the paper ones, but it would take forever to.
It's hard to look at, I just can't find
Can
it.
I, you would next, go ahead.
Mr. Bolton, then you, Mr.
Excuse me, does anybody remember, was this the whole section that David Golden put together, the COPC?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure it
I
was
think
in
it was,
that
yes.
part. I remember it's on the, well, anyway, I can visually remember it on the page, but I don't know what page it is.
Right.
Good, Steve.
I think just to address Mr. Piser's point, when he said that, the chair speaks for the precinct, but for the whole precinct. But therefore, any precinct member can do that. We have numerous bodies in this town that have designees to committees. They speak for the board, they are designees of that board. Planning board, the select board, they have designees to committees and to other bodies. They are the representative of that body. And yet they still, if the designee from the select board to the CPC can't attend, they don't send another select board member. You're a member of a committee for a reason. I think that to some degree, and I'm not casting aspersions on the chairs at the COPC. I'm merely indicating that when the push is made to say, that the legislature must be an equal body. I'm in complete agreement. But equal means equal, not just in having authority, but also equal in responsibility. If you believe the COPC is a body that should have authority and should exercise that authority as representatives of the town meeting outside of the town meeting format, then at the same time, those chairs, if you want that responsibility to be the chair, then you need to be the chair and you need to attend these meetings. I mean, my goodness, right now, it's once a month and you can attend by Zoom. Now, does it happen that somebody gets sick and can't make a meeting? Of course it does. But that happens everywhere in town, and we don't immediately rush out and say, oh, well, we need a replacement for that person because the voice that they are representing is not there. It is the nature of government. We don't have somebody in attendance for a meeting. If we have someone who is out for a long period of time, then it behooves them to say, you know what? I can't fulfill my function. I need to step down and somebody else needs to take that responsibility, take up that mantle. Because that's what we do. We make sure that we have the people who are capable of doing what we are assigning to be a very important job.
So, 11 to Mr. Lawler.
What I'm concerned about is that we're giving people to not be there by convenience. Independent of what might be the reason they're not there, but we're saying it's okay if you don't come because, oh, you can send this guy, he can vote, or you can send that person, he can vote, or she can vote. And then, like you said, now we have them sending clerks, which don't have the power to vote. And this is a committee that's clamored for more say in how the town's run. And you need to step up. I mean, you know, if you want that authority, you want that responsibility, you want to have that say, it comes with a higher level of responsibility, action, and stuff like that. So if we take this out, do we run the risk that they have COPC meetings and they can't do anything because not enough people show up that have the authority to vote? I mean, would those people now not be counted towards a quorum? I mean, it's a pretty big committee. It's 19, right?
It's 18 members.
18, sorry. So, you know, what if half of them were not the chairperson? So that meeting becomes basically a waste of time. A lot of hot air with no action. So are we sending the message by saying, let's let somebody else come and vote? Or, you know, just not taking it seriously. I mean, look, we can't manage personal behavior by some document. Just can't do it, you know. But we can, to some sense, manage it by saying that if you don't show up, you know, don't complain. You know, so I remember when we voted on this, and I remember there was a big discussion. And I happened to watch the last COPC meeting, my excitement. And, you know, I could see why this is, because of some things that transpired in that meeting, why this is something it's been brought back to the table to look at. And if I had to vote on it right now, I would probably vote on to take it away and put it back on the chairperson. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, excellent point, Len. You're welcome. I'd like to bring this question to a motion vote.
So you say you'd like to bring it to a vote?
Yeah.
Making a motion to eliminate the last few words, vice chairs,
Yeah.
7-1-1.
That's what's highlighted up there on this. Can I put my 2 cents in before?
During discussion, you can, I guess, there's a motion, has it been seconded?
I don't know what the motion is.
The motion is to,
Motion is to delete the words or vice chairs in the absence of the chair
Okay,
in 7-1-1 on page 31 of the current revision.
why, what is the value, if I might ask, what is the value of this, that whole sentence? It says the committee precinct chair will be constituted by the precinct chairpersons.
Yeah, the first sentence sums it up, you're right.
We could certainly do it that way, delete the entirety of the second sentence.
Yep, that makes good sense.
Mr. Law, will you amend?
Yeah,
Along the
I'd like
motion.
to amend my motion.
Page 29.
I'd like to
To
amend my
delete the
motion.
second sentence of 7-1-1.
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion, we've yet to get a second.
But it's 7.
I'll second.
Mr. Bolton seconds it. Discussion, Mr. Hanlon?
Yeah, thanks.
I'm not in favor, Steve and Len have both, articulated their rationale for supporting the motion. I don't have any wisdom to share other than, when I was on the precinct chairs, if I couldn't make a meeting, I called the vice chair, asked him to attend. That was the protocol in place at the time. And I don't see a problem with that. We must have voted as a committee in favor of leaving the vice chair in there, otherwise it wouldn't be on this page. So
Yeah.
something has changed. People rethought the issue. I'm fine with leaving the vice chair in there.
Hutchinson?
I agree with Mike, for the most part, and you, can help me out here. I'm trying to remember things that we have voted on in the COPC. And I'm not dredging anything up. And so, for the most part, it's advisory. And if it were your committee, the oversight committee, there might be a different rubric involved. But just the committee itself, I think of it in two ways. One of the jobs is oversight, and the other job is communications. And I would like to send a vice chair or even another person, and I've done that before. Because I want the information coming from the COPC to the committee or to the precinct. And likewise, I want information coming from the precinct back to the committee of precinct chairs. So given that those are the two functions, I think, and this is my opinions, of the functions of the committee of precinct chairs, I agree with Mike that you should probably leave it in there.
All right, you also have your hands up, Mr. Levin, then Mr. Bolton.
And that's fine, Joe, but that's up to the precinct. As Larry said, it's up to the precinct. Sitting here in the charter and saying that's something you can do. It doesn't change that decision. It doesn't change the issue that Mike has. But that's something that's done within the precinct. This committee is very important to the town. It gets to decide whether articles go on the warrant along with other. They vote, we make presentations, they vote and they cast it may not, I guess I should say it's basically, they are being told about articles to go on the town warrant. And, and so I just think that that's fine, that if you need to send somebody because your inability to attend, but that's between you and your other precinct members and your caucus and the people that are in your precinct. They may look and see, oh, we voted for this person and they're not showing up at these meetings that are important as part of their job. And if they don't want to show up, let's disband the committee. What's the purpose of having this committee if people aren't committed to participating in it? What's the purpose of it? So I hear what you're saying, and I understand your point, I really do. But at the same time, I don't think that's something that's part of the charter.
I'm sorry, it sounds like Betty is trying to get in at this time. Um. Mr. Hanlon, I'll go back to Mr. Bolton.
You know, I hear what you're saying, Lem, but I don't agree with it. Because you're making it sound like people don't take it seriously. The chair, for example, oh, well, if I can't make it, I can't make it, I'll just call my buddy the vice chair. And, you know, I haven't been on the precinct chairs for a while, but I was on it for 3 or 4 years, I don't remember how long that was, but we always seem to have a more than majority of people showing up from time to time, as Mr. Bolton pointed out.
Hang on one
You
second.
can't make. You can't make a meeting because you got a conflict, you got something else going on. And I think it's important to have that representation from the precinct sitting at the table. You know, heretofore, before we started this effort, the precinct chair could pick anybody of the 9 and say, please go in my place. Now we're limiting it to the chair and the vice chair. And I think that's appropriate. And it's not about not taking it seriously or, you know, the sky is gonna fall, because that isn't gonna happen.
Joe, then Martha,
So would you buy it, if we said instead of the vice chair, a designee in place of the, chair? Just a representative of the precinct for reasons of communication. And if it came to that also, you would worry about a vote. So we would maybe, Alan, can you remember the last time that we voted on COPC?
we haven't had a substantive vote in quite a while, you're right.
Okay, so, but you remember those?
I remember, an occasional substantive vote, yes.
Okay. Okay, that's what
Do
I,
you? I mean,
that's what I was poking at. I don't remember one, so.
Um,
But I was trying to agree with Mike and, have the cake and eat it too, kind of, with a designee rather
But
than
to
a
your
vice chair.
question about having a designee, that sounds a little random to me. The vice chair is elected to stand in the place of the chair when they're not available.
This is true.
That makes sense to me.
and, do you have anything to add, Steve? If not, I'm gonna ask, I'm just gonna bring the board up to date. Ms. Kavako has called in. Is it the pleasure of the board to hear her reasoning behind the, agenda item?
Yes. And then I do have something to add.
Betty, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Sorry for the confusion. I have you on the cell phone. You called in, obviously, you know that.
Yeah, but it wouldn't let me in.
Okay, the Zoom wouldn't let you in, but, we've been talking about the agenda item at this time. Would you like to take a moment and speak to your, rationale for bringing it up as an agenda item?
Sure. I mean, the biggest issue that I see is that especially with COPC, I think the importance of having the chair vote and being committed to the position is what we signed up for. And the chair may feel differently than the vice chair. I think that there's some I don't know how to say it without sounding stupid, but I think that some chairs and vice chairs have deals. I want to do the summer one. I don't want to do the winter one. You can take the winter. I'll step in for the summer. That's not what we're all about. And I think that the COPC has a responsibility as the chair for the body that they should have that responsibility for the vote and not to pass it off because they don't like months or summers or anything, and quite frankly, the chair hopefully has, you know, the ear of their precinct meeting members, but I'm not seeing the vice chair as having the same. And I think that, you know, this group that we're in, I mean, it's rather impressive to see how, you know, we are all looking at what our residents have asked for and the importance of making those decisions. And I just feel, I don't feel that the vote should be taken by the vice chair. I have no problem having the vice chair come in and sit. Many of the vice chairs, Alan and Joe, if you remember, that were at the last meeting, abstained from voting. Which I mean, that I don't have a problem with that either, but the responsibility of the chair is to be the chair and to have the vote. So that's what I'm seeing. I think it's problematic. I think we all heard from the town clerk that she also feels it's problematic, and I think it should be the responsibility of this charter committee to take that into consideration.
All right, thank you, Mr. Volker.
Thank you. Want to try and jump and address here. Joe, you've talked about the issue of substantive votes and you don't remember a substantive vote.
Right.
That's in the past. We have a new charter that we're proposing.
I,
And going forward, we are absolutely calling for some significant substantive votes.
right, I agree.
At the same time, you've made the point about the need to communicate, from the precincts to communicate. I don't think anything stops a precinct who doesn't have a chair there from sending someone to sit and to communicate. But if what it comes down to is that we change it so that it is clear that you can send anybody, but the only person who can vote is the chair, I'm fine with that, because that's what to me is the issue. The issue is, if you're going to have a vote, you want to make sure that the same person who has sat through the deliberations is the one making the vote. Let's just say, again, hypothetically, I know you've got matters that have now been considered two or three meetings. What happens if you have somebody sitting through 2 or 3 meetings, doing this, doing all their considerations, listening to the arguments going for, and then in the the vote comes, somebody else is there and votes. They haven't had that same benefit, and they may have a different feeling. And they may have that feeling given the lack of information. It's important from a voting standpoint. Again, what we're trying to do with, at least I've been trying to do, and I believe, I agree that the rest of the entire committee has been doing, we've been trying to create a document that gives the residents as much confidence as possible in town government. And we talked about making sure we have transparency, and to some extent, transparency also means consistency. People have to know that who's showing up is, if they have a grievance, if they don't like the way someone is voting, they want to be able to go and say, when they come up for a vote again, election next time, I want to vote against them because I know. How do you do that if you say, well, I didn't vote for that, I don't remember who voted for one and who voted for one other, and you're missing that consistency. I also think, again, as I said, this is the only body that we would otherwise not have a requirement. To have someone say, oh, well, when the chair is not available, the vice chair steps in. That's what you do with the caucus. That's a caucus meeting. This is giving that caucus an appointment to another body. So what you're basically saying is, all right, caucuses not only appoint somebody, they should have multiple appointments to a body. They should have, fine, then let's just make the committee of precinct chairs, won't be 18 people, let's make it 36. All of the chairs and all the vice chairs can show up at any given time. Now it's 36, because that's basically what you're doing. Planning board doesn't have 2 appointments to the CPC or the open space committee. They have 2, but they don't have 4. Because they don't have a body that's, I'm sending someone, but they're not available, so I get to send somebody else. It's the same with the CPC. Because the COPC is no longer just an advisory body, it's no longer just advising town meeting. When it was just advising town meeting and giving recommendations to town meeting as to what it's thinking, I understand the mentality. But we've taken that a step further. We've heard the voice of we've had, my goodness, how many COPC members have we had on this committee? Mr. Golden, who, by the way, told me that he was not in favor of leaving vice chairs. But we had Mr. Golden here, we have Mr. Costello, we have Mr. Hutchinson. We have at least 3 COPC members who have sat in this committee, not to mention the other town meeting members that we had here. So we've discussed the COPC probably more than almost anything else. Because we decided to make it that important. But that important, again, means it has to be treated equally with everybody else. Because if this is the answer, then I'm gonna say, fine, I wanna go back and I want everybody to have multiple appointments. If you can't send, if I can't attend a meeting, I wanna be able to send somebody else from my group. And I think that's a ridiculous position, to be honest. I would hate to actually make that, because I don't agree with that, and I think that's an absurdity. But that's literally what we would be doing.
So much.
I'm sorry about that.
That's all right, that's fine, but I think again, you know, if the issue, as Joe says, is making sure that their voice is there. I don't have a problem with anybody from the COP, any precinct showing up at a meeting, it's a public meeting, they should be allowed to do that. But I do have the issue with voting, that's the one thing that I'm a purist at heart when it comes to votes. I think that the person who votes is the one who should be doing the consideration, and then they should be answerable to the people for their vote.
And that's what I was suggesting to Mike.
Mike, you have something to say? Go right ahead, sir.
So. You suggested in the middle of your monologue there that maybe it was possible to allow, at least this is what I heard you say, to allow the vice chair to sit in the absence of the chair. The group never, if both the vice chair and the chair shows up, it never gets to be 36 because the vice chair is there in the absence of the chair. So, but to your point about voting, I thought you suggested at one point that we allow only the chair to vote, not the vice chair. So if the chair isn't there, that precinct wouldn't be able to vote. But that's not the issue on the table. The issue is striking the vice chair altogether. I could live with allow the vice chair to show up at the meeting in the absence of the chair to do the back and forth communication. If a vote gets called, if the chair ain't there, nobody from the vice chair can't vote. Is that a compromise?
I think that's a wonderful concept.
Great. Do I have a? So does membership define the fact that they can vote?
I was gonna say, where does it even,
It does, it just says membership, so are we assuming that the word membership implies that they have the ability to vote? And if it doesn't, then it's a useless sentence. It doesn't tell you anything.
We'll take out the word membership then and call it something else.
Anyone can go to any meeting in Plymouth, so the issue of can the vice chair be there in the absence of the chair? Of course he can, so can.
But it is the difference being allowed to be up there and deliberating, even if not voting, at least deliberating. Versus sitting in the audience and only being recognized when recognized under public comment. That's a distinction, and I do recognize from Mr. Hutchinson's viewpoint. If the issue is, I want to make sure that even if my chair is not there, if we have something from our precinct to report, then they want to be up there and not have to wait for public comment to do it and be able to explain and do more than just sit in the audience. I understand that, and again, I'm willing to recognize that this is a unique body in many ways. We're creating a somewhat unique body. So I'm willing to be flexible on doing that for communications purposes. but when it comes to voting, I'm just a purist, I think that's.
All right, so how do we modify this language to allow the vice chair to sit in the place of the chair of the precinct in the absence of the chair? Not if the chair is there, you know, the guy's in the audience then. And if it comes to a vote, only the chair has the ability to vote.
Is that what membership means?
Well,
Yeah,
whether
I
it means
take
it
out
or
the
not,
word.
let's come up with language
Okay.
that talks about that, so.
I would first start by saying a committee of precinct chairs shall be constituted by the precinct chairpersons from each of the various precincts or the vice chair in the absence of the chair. Take out the word, the membership shall be limited to elected chairpersons and just put or move chairpersons up to.
So you're saying take out from the word membership to the word chairpersons?
Correct.
I would think that again, if you're,
And then-
if we're trying to create, so I would rather leave it that way, and I would just rather say that vice chairs may attend the meeting in the absence of the chair, but may not vote.
However,
I
do
don't think
not
we
have
have to
any
do, we don't
voting.
have to do that.
That's fine.
Attend the
No,
meeting.
no, because
is
they,
today.
because they can attend a meeting. The thing is that our main point is that the vice chair
We can certainly-
cannot vote.
Well, so we're gonna say, can sit in the place of the chair,
However, does not have. any
however, may
voting.
not vote.
We don't have to move the language around that much, Steve.
But he's trying, I think I see the difference between only being able to speak at public comment versus being able to speak as a member of the COPC, but not vote. That would be how vice chairs
But if we,
are able to participate.
if we take out second sentence, does the charter need to tell the committee how it should be run? Does the charter need to tell the
Well-
committee how the caucuses should decide who attends the meetings if the chairperson can't? So taking out that 7 seconds leaves that, gets us out of the business. We've done that in other, just let me finish, we've done that in other places where we said, we're not gonna tell people how to do their job, we're gonna tell them what their job is.
But this is defining the responsibility. This is defining who the members are. We have done that in every committee. We are defining who the members are.
We already done that in the first sentence, haven't we, Steve?
Well, no, because we're trying to come up with a compromise that says,
I understand that, but in the first sentence, we've said, how is the committee constituted? By the chairperson of the precincts.
right,
Now we're trying to say, the next thing we're trying to say is, if
Voting
that person
membership.
can't show up, what are the not capable, what are the privileges of the person that shows up in lieu of the chairperson of the precinct?
well, and we're also saying that it's only one particular person. They're not
Okay.
opening it up to everybody again. So we're saying that it's only the vice chair. And again, the language I have says that
However, would not have voting.
precinct vice chairs may sit in place of the precinct chairs in the absence of the precinct chair, but may not vote.
And you're saying it has to say in absence because if they both show up, they don't get two
Right.
votes.
Right.
Mr. Pizer?
This is just for the purpose of I told you so 5 years from now. The answer to your question, why is the committee of precinct chairs unique? And the answer to the question is, it is the, other than town meetings, which is actually individuals voted within the precinct, but the committee of precinct chairs is the only body in town elected by district. And that makes it unique. And that is the difference. And that is the reason that I'm going to vote to maintain the present situation, because it gives the precinct the power. And, I've heard the argument and I'm not buying it because it's different. And that's I hope, my final comment on this matter.
Not to put you on the spot, Mr. Pizer, but could you explain to me what is the present town clerk's concern that no one prior to her has picked up on as far as the history of the precinct chairs? She feels that as far as swearing in, you're not able to swear in vice chairs, or for that matter, the other 8 individuals of the precinct. So where is her concerns come from, state law or state?
No, I mean, I think I can understand if the question is swearing in, but at least during my tenure, the precinct chairs were sworn in within the precinct, as is the vice chair and the clerk, and therefore there was no separate swearing in for the committee of precinct chairs. Speaking for me and not speaking for Kelly.
I understand.
I can,
Mr. Bolton, then Mr. Levin.
but I can answer the,
Okay.
Kelly's response was, because she raised it again recently publicly, as she points out that it says that the precinct chairperson shall meet within 30 days. It's that our charter specifically says chairpersons. That's who if she's being asked to swear people into an existing committee, the charter says chairpersons. So that's who she's willing to swear in. She's willing to swear in chairpersons because that's what our charter says.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do they swear in people that are elected to the planning board?
Of course,
Yeah.
So you have to go down, I'm sorry, this might be.
every committee, every board. Yes,
Okay.
I had to go.
Okay.
Just like for this committee, we're all sworn in.
Right.
Every committee,
So
every
the-
board.
So does that say everybody that's elected as part of a precinct, sorry, my ignorance on this, they have to go and see Kelly and say, blah, blah, blah.
And if they go to another committee, yes, they have to get sworn in, just like.
But if you're the designee, you don't.
Yeah, you do.
No, you don't. Well, you didn't.
So I think the issue here is about the ability for this person to vote.
Yeah,
It's
of course it
simple
is.
as that.
It
We've
is.
we've gone this full circle.
Right.
We've had this great discussion about it. You know, we've expressed our opinions and our concerns, and everybody, in my opinion, has had great issues and concerns. So it's mainly about changing the verbiage in this section so that this person may attend the meeting in the absence of the chairperson, but is not allowed to vote on anything that's brought before the committee.
Yeah, but you can't just say attend the meeting, because even I could attend the meeting. you know?
That's why
Well, we're talking about just vice chair people.
I know, but
again, allow
I
me-
agree with whoever said, it's up to if the chair of the COPC says that a vice chair who shows up at the meeting is allowed to sit in the chair, in the, you know, at
Up on
the
the-
big people's table,
Okay.
then I don't think we need to include that. Our question is votes.
Right.
That's, Steve's completely right, that either you have the right to vote or you don't have the right to vote. And anything else just seems beneath us.
So could we say, instead of having to just say vice chair, could we say, excuse me, any person that attends, maybe attends is the wrong word, but this is the best way for me to describe. Attends a COPC meeting in an official capacity, whatever the right word is, sorry, I'm not very good at this,
No,
may do so without the privilege of being able to vote. And so the attends is that we have to make that language much clearer. But that covers us for vice chairs, for clerks, for anybody else that's in part of the precinct that shows up because they went down the line and everybody is away in wherever they are, you know, for that week. And that can happen. It can happen. We have the right to go away and have other things to do. But what we want to make clear is that the only person who can vote is the chairperson.
If that's,
And the
yeah,
only person who can sit in place of the chairperson is the vice chair, not any other Tom, Dick, or Harry who happens to be a precinct,
Why limit it?
We have a motion on the table. Let's see if the motion is to get rid of that sentence.
Right.
Seven dash,
But I'd like to see if we can, because I think.
and then we can get into the
Well, I think we
verbiage
had
of
the
replacing it.
discussion, well, I think we had the discussion on the verbiage, but I think that there's more of a consensus to
Yeah.
try and broaden this to say, okay, we wanna encourage that communication, we wanna encourage a full dais up there, but there's still people who feel very strongly with respect to voting, so I'm gonna ask Mr. Lawler if he will amend his motion to, instead of eliminate the second sentence of 711, change it to precinct vice chairs may sit in place of their precinct chair in the absence of the precinct chair, but may not vote.
Please. Change it,
As stated,
as stated.
seconded by Mr. Hanlon. Any discussion on the new sentence?
And
As,
read it again.
as motion, do we read?
Read
Do
that
we read
again.
that
I
back?
will read it again.
Yeah,
Precinct vice chairs may sit in place of their precinct chair in the absence of the precinct chair, but may not vote.
And that comes after the first sentence.
Correct. That would replace the second sentence. So
Okay, precinct vice chairs may sit
in place
in place of,
their, THEIR,
uh-huh,
precinct chair in the absence of, I want to say that precinct chair, but may not vote.
so you're suggesting to strike that second sentence and insert that.
Correct. That's what the motion is that you seconded.
Seconded by
That's
Mr. Hanlon.
that's my second.
in place of their,
Good
their
clarification.
precinct chair, in the absence of that precinct chair, it's just really wordy, brings chair, but may not vote, right? Did I get it right?
That is,
Sounds pretty
That
close.
sounds like
It sounds like something that,
There's a lot of precincts in there.
well, it's important because again.
No, I understand.
we wanna
I
make
understand
it
what you're trying to do.
specific
Right.
Versus saying, I don't want one vice chair to show up for somebody else's precinct.
So
So there's the question.
wait a minute, the motion on the table is to replace this, the second sentence in section 7.1.1 on page 31 with the following sentence: precinct vice chairs may sit in place of their precinct chairs in the absence of that precinct chair, but may not vote. Get it right?
does everyone understand that? That's the motion?
So the motion was made by Tim, it was seconded by Mr. Hanlon.
Yes, now,
Call the vote.
a vote is now changed because Ms. Caraco, although you can't get in on Zoom, but you're on the phone, so can she vote on the phone? I'm assuming under the
Yes.
law she can.
It's being recorded.
Okay, very good. So we'll go through the vote. At
Ready?
this time, Mr. Bolton,
Yes.
Ms. Cavaco,
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Costello, yes. Mr. Hanlon,
Yes,
Mr. Hutchinson,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Pison,
No.
no. Ms. Voltran, I'm sorry, Mr. Levin
Yes.
and Ms. Voltran.
Yes,
The vote was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
8 to 1.
6, 7, 8, 8 to 1.
The 8 yes, 1 no, the amended 7-1-1 will show up in our final copy, is that correct?
I'm gonna edit it here.
All right, very good, is, that concludes that vote and that agenda item. Moving on to the final, committee review of the charter revision 240722, which
Well,
should
it's,
be in your,
yeah,
that's not right, is it?
it's actually not 2-2.
It's 2-9, right?
2-9.
It's in your
Actually,
packet,
it's 2-9-1.
okay,
Is that what
so.
it says?
That showed up in your packet tonight, I think it was sent out earlier.
Yep. Okay.
Mr. Levin, is there anything of interest that you should bring to our attention on
Yes.
this?
So today, as we've been, I have to give Steve most of all the credit for this, went through.
Martha gets some too.
Oh, I'm sorry, Martha, you too, you got lots of credit.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
Well, you.
So what we have
Thanks,
been trying
everybody
to
else.
do is go through. And the sections that were brought over. For, you know, as they were, or sections that were deleted as they were. We were trying to make sure they had the right section number from the existing charter. And that was a daunting task, because you could look at it, and you could look at it, and you could look at it. And Steve went and did an exhaustive comparison today and came up with a few more changes. And some things that got left out as we copy and paste, like at the last meeting. Mr. Abbott pointed out we had left out some sections, and the way we put those in was I simply went to the existing charter, copied and pasted. And in the process of doing that, somehow we left out a section. So we have a new version today, 240730, that you did not get, because I did this at like 2 o'clock this afternoon. And I'm gonna show you, that's the one that's up here now, and I'm gonna show you what in fact we did. So, and explain to you how we did it to make it easier for you to see. We're trying to make this much easier to look. So you help make sure I don't miss it, Steve. So. There was, sorry, the only way I can do this is scroll through it. It's too hard to search. It just, sometimes you get to the wrong thing. Oops, I just see, let me fix something here. I just see another issue. So for example, this section here, 2-10-2 was left out. This was the part from conflict of interest.
2-10.
Well, if you look at page 15, you'll see it says 2-10-1 and then 2-10-3,
15.
page 15.
2-.
But it's 16 on.
Sorry, this is the problem.
16 on, we'll find it, don't worry.
Right,
We'll do it, so it's on page 16,
right. Help me with that.
section 6, conflict of interest.
So that somehow 2-10-2 just got left out from what you have as a hard copy.
So what we have is we have 2-10-1 and 2-10-2. It's actually, there's 3 sections. 2-10-2 should actually be 2-10-3, and there's a section missing in between. That's what we.
So we voted that up.
No, we didn't vote it out. It was never voted out. Was
I
that,
feel pretty confident it was.
I
It
can't.
says basically the same thing as 2-10-1. It has got to do with family members versus.
Oh, you're
That would be
absolutely right.
it. Nope, then you're absolutely right. That may have been just, it was duplicate, so we need to put it in and strike it out.
Okay.
I'm fairly sure. I'll have to
You're
go back
right
to the
about
minutes,
that. We've
but-
got to find that out, but I think that's what it was.
Yeah, well, we'll have to look at the minutes.
And.
Do you vaguely remember?
I didn't look.
So
I
technically,
don't-
this is correct.
yes, I
Well,
vaguely
no,
remember it.
Regardless, there's something missing, whether it should be left in or left in and stricken and with a strike.
I didn't check
Something
it.
there.
That was
I
the
would
meeting
want-
of, hey, folks, that was the meeting of March 12th.
Okay, I've got it here.
And I don't have that noted as a strikeout. I had
Well-
I had the strikeout of 2-10-1 deleted in its entirety.
That could be, one or the other was deleted because they're very, very similar.
Yeah, 2-10-1, and we left 2-10-2 with a different,
Right, we added representative town meeting member on line 2 of 2-10-2.
correct.
Okay, so we want to strike 2-10. See, this is what, okay.
So yeah, so 2-10.
Well, is it in there in?
It,
what
I'm
did we
gonna,
have?
I'm trying, I'm comparing right now. The 2-10-2, what it looks like now. Town meeting member shall go on the town meeting, representing the town meeting member. Or, no, because I'm not seeing, the. Or an immediate family member, because it's an or missing. Or any business member. Or any business or organization in which, so there's definitely. Well, this organization which the representative town serves as an officer.
Yeah, doesn't that paragraph, I can't read it.
Or,
But
I remember this
doesn't that
now.
relate to town employees?
I remember this now.
town meeting members.
No, that's what we changed.
Yeah, so, right, so 210-1, what is now sitting as 210-1 is 210, was 210-2.
Correct.
So it should be identified as 210-2.
And what is 210-1?
210-1 was a different provision,
That's for only the employee.
and it's gone.
And then we got rid of
And that's
that.
the one,
entirely.
and that's the one.
So
that's
it should be redlined in here.
So the
Yeah.
one that's green should be 210-1?
No, I don't know what, I've got it,
Hang on, just go. So you're saying what I have is green as 210-2 needs to just go away
right
completely?
now it needs to go away completely, right,
Okay.
and what instead
Let's
needs
just do
to
one thing at a
happen.
time, because this is where we get in.
Right, so
We
get rid of
got-
that, so
Okay.
what we need is we need the original 210-1.
And I can take care of that off of out.
And that should go in and then be marked as a strikeout in its entirety. And that is exactly, Michelle is correct, that's exactly what we voted on March 12th.
I will do that. I'm not gonna do it here.
Right.
It's too hard to do on one screen. Okay, so that's
That's one of them.
one of them. So then if we go down here, we have another one, hang
Yeah.
on to it. So this here, 542 on, again, my page numbers are different. So
But just tell me which chapter, which section.
it's under the time of, it's under the time of taking office.
Okay, page 18 of the version we have in front of us.
Okay, thank you, Steve. So that was a strikeout, that was just, we didn't put it in, because the philosophy about this is we're going to put in everything we struck out, because we reorganized so that people can see, and if they decide they don't wanna strike that out, it's got its place in the version, so we just added that back in today. Because that was missing, and it's not a it was voted on, and, it's just, it's just part of this clerical effort of trying to get this charter to be where we want it to be.
So what, I didn't hear what section, chapter.
Page
section.
18. Under,
Is it on,
531 or
20.
532, which is the one that's.
no, it's 5-4.
Or 5-4,
There's 5-4-1,
okay?
right? And then there was 5-4-3, right? There's no 5-4-2.
yes, there is. That was gonna be one of my, it's in the,
Oh, that's right,
it
we
never
did
was a
strike
new
that.
We
paragraph,
strike that got moved somewhere else.
542.
No, I don't think, actually, no, I went looking for that and I could not find that. And that was not put somewhere else. We actually struck it. We voted to remove that.
Which, yeah, all it has to
542.
do is a new
Right,
paragraph.
it's actually in there, Len, it's just, it's not,
Oh, I see it now.
yeah.
It didn't
It's
get
last
us,
sentence in there, and
Okay.
that's so.
okay, it didn't get the
It
character.
didn't
The
get
new
carried. You just need a
New
hard,
paragraph.
yeah, you need a hard
You can see better
paragraph.
than I can, Martha.
Well, I don't know how I noticed it. But I did.
Okay, so then the next thing we did today is another, okay, so under the town manager, which is chapter 5, town administration,
And what page is that? Progress.
we're gonna probably start on page.
Hang on, chapter,
We'll start on page 22.
Yeah,
There was, I think you're the one that brought this to our attention, am I correct? That the whole thing about appointment and removal was missing?
that was me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But that was what I called Martha because what. And I'll take fault for this. What happened, and I found it in our meeting minutes, was there was going to be a subcommittee to address the quote unquote section just on the town manager's qualifications. And the subcommittee never got formed to create changes to that. The only two people who volunteered for that subcommittee were Martha and myself. we were waiting for others and others decided, no, they were not going to be a subcommittee. So Martha and I, as a subcommittee, met today and have come up with our recommendation. So I can do that.
So we added it in. And that's why I only marked it in green for you tonight, so it'd be easier to visually see what we were doing. We will change that back to black. And then whatever edits we make to it will be in the standard way of adds and changes will be in blue, and any strike through will be in red strike through
Okay,
deletions.
so, unfortunately, since it's not in the document in front of people, the only way I can refer to it is from the old charter,
Our current.
our current charter, our existing charter. It is in our existing charter. Those are sections 3.4, 3-4-1, 3-4-2, Jesus, and 3-4-3. And 3-4-4, I should say as well. So those four sections.
Huh?
In our minutes, it notes 3-4-1, we can't change according to town council. 3-4-2. And I apologize because it's a long paragraph, but I will read it so people can follow along. If you don't have the document in front of you, and I'm sorry. But what it says is the town manager shall be appointed solely on the basis of executive and administrative qualifications. The town manager shall be a professionally qualified person of proven ability, especially fitted to perform the duties of the office by education, training, and previous experience in municipal administration. The town manager shall have had at least 5 years of full-time paid experience as a city or town manager, assistant city or town manager, town administrator or assistant town manager, administrator, or the equivalent level of experience. The town may, from time to time, establish such additional qualifications as deemed necessary and appropriate. The town manager shall not be subject to a personnel bylaw, if any. In addition to other terms as set forth in this charter generally.
Hang on a second. There's something that when I copied and pasted doesn't belong there.
Okay.
So in addition is a continuation from that sentence, okay.
In addition to other terms as set forth in this charter generally, and in this section 4 of chapter 3 specifically, the town manager shall devote full time to the office and shall not hold any other public office, elective or appointive, nor engage in any other business or occupation during the term of office unless such action is approved in advance in writing by the select board. With the approval of the select board, the town manager may serve as the town's representative to regional boards, commissions, and the like, but the town manager may not receive additional compensation from the town for such services. To the extent permitted by law, the terms of the town manager's employment shall be the subject of a written agreement between the parties, setting forth the length of service, compensation, vacation, sick leave, benefits, and such other matters, excluding tenure, as are customarily included in an employment contract. That's the length and breadth of that.
342.
342. Ms. Votring and I looked and said, for purposes of the committee, et cetera, what we would recommend removing is simply the section that has the very specific criteria. Notably, the sentence that says the town manager shall have had at least 5 years of full-time paid experience as, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then the sentence that also says the town may from time to time establish such additional qualifications as necessary and appropriate. The reason we're recommending removing that is because the select board will make a determination as to who they believe to be the appropriate town manager. And putting specific criteria seems to be an unnecessary and unreasonable hampering. I sat on the town manager selection advisory committee. And for example, there was a candidate who who we ultimately did not decide to pass on, but we thought potentially could be a good candidate. because they had been a city of Boston large department head. But they were neither a manager, assistant manager, administrator, and then or the equivalent level of experience. We don't know what the equivalent level of experience means. It was just a little bit vague. So we thought, why not just take that out? The select board will hire the person that they believe to be professionally qualified and a proven ability to do the job. So that's the recommendation for that section. Martha, did I get that
Yep.
accurately?
Yeah,
Mr. Waller?
Steve, are we changing things on that then?
That would be just, we would be deleting 2 sentences from that, yes.
Okay. So again, we're setting the course as to what the charter is setting the course for what the town manager's qualifications should be.
And actually, what we're doing is we're removing that section. So right now, the charter does set the course.
But it also says up there, if you continue to read 3(4)(2). The town manager shall be professionally qualified person who, like, why don't you just remove that also?
We could, but it's essentially to just,
It's so.
I don't have a problem with removing it, but again, it's a very generic statement. That they're essentially to be someone of qualified for the job, and proven ability.
Let me suggest something.
Sure.
So, if you're taking the track to eliminate the how, right? Eliminate the whole how, just, go ahead, I'm sorry, Martha.
I just want to say one thing is
Yeah.
the reason that any of this is in here is related to the fact there's nothing written anywhere in personnel or in the town about the town manager. That's the problem.
Boom. Yeah.
Martha had done the research and looked at it, and we don't have a job description for the town manager. Now, that's in our charter, nor do we have anything that talks about how you qualify a town manager for their.
We didn't have it. That was a while ago.
Right.
I remember, and that
still don't
we
think
had
we have.
a personnel, the personnel chair, whatever,
Yeah.
director personnel is gone now. I don't know if we have a new one. The
So-
fella who was the director was promoted to assistant town manager, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I
So,
don't,
yeah.
so I never followed up after that. I will admit
But I
that.
think you're accurate. I don't think there's a descriptive out there, so I don't have I agree.
That's why we decided to keep all of the A, B, C, D, E, F, G to
Right,
the end of the
the whole-
alphabet
The whole list. That's the job description. This is sort of the,
in the charter.
right, and this is sort of the, you gotta hire somebody who's qualified. It is a generic statement, I agree, and I don't know that it adds anything, and if it is the will of the committee to remove more, I'm fine with it. But I left that sentence just because I didn't consider it to be overly restrictive.
So I'm looking at the existing charter.
Yes.
You're proposing, I think, to delete that one sentence?
It's 2 sentences, actually, it's the third and the fourth sentence.
Third,
Starting, the town manager shall have at least 5 years,
yeah.
and
Which
then also the town may
right,
from
right.
time to time establish such additional. The next sentence.
Third and fourth sentence of that paragraph in that section. After experience, it starts a new equivalent level of experience, period, then it starts a new sentence, the town may from time to time.
Town can always establish whatever criteria it wants. It's kind of a superfluous sentence. But the decision is always that of the select board.
So basically, that first sentence that you want to eliminate basically says you gotta be a town manager or a city manager somewhere else. Or
Pretty much.
something,
Or have an undefined equivalent level of experience, and I don't like undefined.
but,
terms.
okay, so I get that. But the second sentence, the town may from time to time establish such additional qualifications as
Well, we're
deemed.
taking out the qualifications, so why would we have a sentence that says that there's additional qualifications?
Well, you could say qualifications, proven ability, especially fitted to perform the duties of education, training, and previous experience on those qualifications of the sort.
I
They're not
would,
specific,
I
they're-
would describe those more as characteristics than qualifications myself. And I left them in because they were very generic. I didn't, since the select board makes the determination and they don't have a checklist that they have to follow. If they wanna create a checklist for themselves, they can do it, but I didn't want that to be a charter-based statement. That was just my sense. And Martha's sense.
Do you wanna make that in the form of motion?
I will make that in the form of a motion. I move that we remove the third and fourth sentences of 3-4-3.
where is that in the 724 version?
Seconded by Mr. Pizer. And now discussion?
I'm gonna let you finish it.
Oh.
It wasn't, it was missing. That was
Oh.
one of the sentences I missed. That's why,
That's why
that's why I read it in there instead of letting everybody do
Alright.
it themselves.
So that's
Now
three
add it
four
back.
2 from the original, the existing charter
Yes,
is going in.
Correct.
Minus the two sentences.
Correct.
Okay.
And what page,
And it's not in the paperwork.
it's not
we
on
saw
the, it's
tonight.
not on,
It's in the,
It's on the
only in our-
GIS
our
30.
we did that this afternoon, so it was already printed. So if you look here, that's why it's in green to help you visualize it. It was at the beginning of the town manager under section 1, chapter 5.
so just so everybody knows what I did to do this, what I did was I took the draft document that you have in front of you. And for every provision, every time I read a provision, I looked in our existing charter. And I found that provision and I put a little check mark next to it. And so I went through the entire document, and once this document was complete, I then looked at this document. And I looked to see if there were any provisions that didn't have a check mark next to them. And I found a few. Those were ones that did not get transferred from our existing charter into the current charter, whether they be in their original form, in a revised form, or stricken.
Got it.
So those were the ones that I found, including the one that it turns out was tucked away in another provision that Martha's sharp eyes just got.
So we're,
So does that take care of,
So does that explain?
the newest version 30 has all of that taken into consideration?
Correct.
Did we get a second to this
So
motion?
that's my motion.
And it's been seconded by Mr. Pizer.
Oh,
Discussion is over. We take a vote on it at this time. Everybody ready? And any further discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Bulletin,
Yes.
Ms. Kabako? She's gone. Oh, and then I lost the signature. Mr. Costello, yes. Mr. Hanlon,
yes.
Mr. Hutchinson,
I'm saying,
abstaining?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Lawler,
Mr. Lawler,
yes.
yes.
me,
Mr. Levin,
yes.
okay, Mr. Pizer,
Yes.
Ms. Voltrain.
Yes,
Yes.
Give me 1 second. So the rest of section 342 is gonna be back in black. Okay. Now, we're going to 343, Steve,
We can, yes.
okay?
and is that in our, most?
No.
So does that include
In
the,
our current 343?
No, because we just
the
added.
review of the most recent charter, or is there anything?
I've got a lot of stuff.
Hang
Oh,
on,
you
Steve,
do? I'm sorry, go right ahead.
Are we gonna, is there anything to change to 343?
343, no,
Okay.
we were gonna leave 343 and 3.
I apologize.
344.
343 and 344 are gonna stay as,
As is.
so understand, again. They got printed, Steve called me, and I sat down and we entered these sections into what is now 240730. You don't have that. And we put it in green, so when we showed it to you tonight, it would be obvious what it is. This is just this effort of the reorganization of the charter and the strategy of how we're gonna present it caused us to rethink things. And that rethinking was to go back and take pieces out of the charter that we had deleted that weren't in that reorganized document way back in the beginning of June. And it's been an ongoing process to make sure we had everything. Like I said, last week, Mr. Abbott pointed out, we left out a whole bunch of stuff. And it's been Steve and I, and with the help of Martha and Michelle, to go through and try to do this. And I can tell you, it made me, I know how many times Representative Town Meeting members in this document, because I've counted, I know. So that's what we're doing here, and we think that now we have a very good document to present to town meeting. Okay?
I have a suggestion, another suggestion. Or maybe we'll get to it in your list there.
It's possible, I don't know. Let me start with, a sort of a general that might make it easier. We've had, what the practice has been in creating this, to use the existing charter numbers whenever we have an existing provision. So that people can compare this to our existing charter. There are a number of provisions in here that still have a renumbered rather than an existing number. I have about a page and a half, about a full page of those. Rather than going through, can we all agree that if we have if a provision is not a brand new provision, but was actually part of our existing charter, it should be referenced with our existing number. If we agree to that, I can do that offline with Len, because I think that is truly an administrative matter rather than us having to go through each one.
That's
I
fine.
agree.
I mean, but what's going on here is that you need the baseline document, the original chart. You need that.
This one, we have,
Town meeting will want that.
Exactly.
You need the finished document. And then you need the change order document. The engineers will understand what a change order is, because that's what's happened here. You need a way to map from this to that. And
Ideally, what I would like to do, and we'll talk about the practicalities of this, but I would like a renumbered document with, right next to it, just like we're doing on exit signs. Exit 13, old exit 6. I would like to have, this is 2-2-2, formerly 4-3-1. So that people can actually see what it would look like renumbered and compare it.
Is that what you?
That would be a change order document,
Do we need a motion?
Isn't that what we were talking about from the beginning?
well, we're trying to do. No, we don't, no, but so the motion that I would like to make is just to start with, is the motion to allow us to renumber.
and that's fine. I mean, if
Without
you're over the original numbers and you and Len are just gonna do the administrative
Yes,
cuts and pastes and mappings,
right,
that's fine.
okay. That's what I'd like to do. That'll save a bunch of time on some of these. There was a provision in,
wait a minute, don't we have to vote on that?
I was gonna say, I just walked in, is this a formal motion, or you just,
We
think
already
it's just,
decided, we don't-
yeah, you're right.
whether we need it as a motion, or I think as a committee, we've just decided
Just
that
a
that's
consensus,
okay.
what you guys
That's a
do.
consensus. I don't think we
Yeah.
need a formal motion on that. So that was just consensus that we're gonna do it, and you and I can go through this and.
The rest of the committee's fine with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walked in.
I definitely think we have got to have the numbers from our current charter.
One of the things that I noted, so on section 4. Which is page 10 of our current document. So it's chapter 2, section 4, school committee
Of the one that we're, not the current, the
of
proposed.
29.
Oh,
The
that
one we
one.
have in front of us, the one that the committee.
The version
Page 10.
Page 10. I note that,
of 29, 24, 07, 29.
correct.
Yeah.
I note that a provision,
Wait a minute, tell me what section again?
it's section 4 is the school committee.
The school committee, okay?
We have a provision in our existing charter, 4-3-1, which we struck. Because it is the generalized statement that I have the powers conferred on it by law, et cetera. We struck that. That just needs to be added back in as a strikeout.
So we're under section 4,
Section 4,
school committee.
after. And we can talk about, after 2-X-X. There should be the original charter. 4-3-1 as a strikeout. And there's nothing to vote on, that's what we agreed.
4-3-1 as strikeout.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to follow, Joe, because you don't have it. It's,
But isn't it in the original?
Yeah.
Yes.
The current,
it's no,
where we have school.
yeah, we're using the term current and original is kind of we're interchangeable. The
Right.
current charter is the thing that's on the website. It's the thing we're operating under today. That's the definition of current. The document that we're talking about is the proposed document, which is 29-1, which is what you have. Is we're talking about making changes to that. Okay, does that make it better?
Yeah, in this instance, it's a section that was in our current charter that we had decided to strike, but the strikeout didn't get transferred over to this document.
That way you can read it too, because I can't read it either.
Well, I just wanna make sure.
Right, it's a little confusing because what happens is when you start adding stuff in, the page numbers get skewed. At least we need to thank Michelle. I kind of gave up on trying to make the table of contents dynamic, but it is now because of her doing, it's now dynamic, so I don't have to go back through and print it out and check it off and edit it. And so it's doing that, but once page numbers move, the table of contents moves along with it. So I have that as something I have to do.
Mr. Lawler?
So, Mr. Chairman, all this stuff can be pretty much done in the background, as I understand it. My question is, when can we get together? I know it's a lot of work, Len, and you're doing a great job, and Steve and Martha doing, everyone, and Joe, putting all this all together. When can we get a final, hold on, I gotta get the question right.
Version.
29-2
Well, it'll
version.
be actually, it's right now, it's 07:30. We've moved on. It's every day that
Oh,
we
it's
do
30,
something.
okay, gotcha, all right.
And it may be,
Sorry,
it
sorry.
may be
When can we, when can we get,
24083 or something.
all right, so when can we as a committee
Have that document.
have that document so we can wrap our arms around it and then do our own checking, because the last thing we want is someone from outside this committee saying, oh, by the way, you forgot all this stuff, and that's what it's not supposed to be. So what do you think?
So I'll just tell you what's going on for me personally. And Steve and I have to work out a schedule.
Would 2 weeks be okay?
No, we're not gonna do it in 2 weeks. I'm not waiting.
It'll be
So-
a lot quicker.
Look at that.
Okay,
Starting tomorrow,
yeah.
that other committee you saw me sitting in the other night,
Yeah.
the delegation from Japan shows up.
Okay,
So between now and Sunday, I'm speaking Japanese,
Japanese,
right? So it's gonna have to get done next week because on the 8th, I'm having cataract surgery.
okay,
So it's gonna get done before the 8th, come hell or high water.
gotcha.
And then
Okay.
2 weeks after that.
Well, no, this is the most amazing thing. I just, whatever. Talk about engineering, cataract surgery is the most amazing thing I can imagine. So basically, we're hoping to have something to you by the end of next week.
Okay, so if we
Okay.
have that by the end of next week, then we're gonna be able to start, putting our arms around it. And then how about this?
I'm listening.
How about not next week? But give you a little bit more time on it, cause if you give you more time on it, it'll be probably bulletproof.
Well,
And
I
then
wanna
if
go
we
through
get-
one.
hard to say
No,
that,
hang on a
it'll be
second.
much better.
Oh, he's not.
No, let me say that. I don't know. Let me say this to you. So one of the things I was, in the conversation Steve and I was having is we were gonna go through and make sure all the pieces, okay, what we had done is we reorganized it. There was this philosophy that I had been proposing that we were gonna have this intermediate document that talked about the current charter and the thing. And when we talked to town council, she suggested that the articles should be reflective of everything that we've taken out, so that if we don't do that, then they could sit there and nitpick and start doing this. This way, the document has everything we took out in it, and that's what we did. And because of doing that, we missed some stuff, and I think we now are 99.999% have that. And then the other thing is what was the numbering scheme could be. So one of the philosophies is to just go renumber it now. And Steve and I talked about it and other people and said, that's confusing because they wouldn't be able to refer to the existing charter. So what we've done is anything that came over from the existing charter either is in whole or as a deletion would bring that numbering over. So now the numbering of it, if you remember, we talked about the process is an article to talk on the reorg, articles per chapter, let's say, and then an article at the end that says we'll renumber it.
Right.
So the question is do we start doing that now and kind of saying old exit, new exit? I don't know. That's what Steve has suggested. I'm not sure.
What do you mean by old exit, new exit?
Okay.
On the highway, this.
Well,
He's using it as
Oh,
an analogy.
I'm sorry, you're sorry. Old exit, old, section number, old paragraph, but the existing number versus new number.
Renumbered versus existing.
My concern with that is there's a bunch of stuff in this charter that's redlined. And if we get everything we're hoping to get from town meeting, all that's gonna go away. So how do you number that stuff? I think we just leave it as what
You wouldn't number it
well,
if it wasn't gonna be in the new charter.
but we don't know that it's not gonna be in the new charter, because if they decide to vote and say, we don't wanna take out the section about the school committee not cutting grass, then it comes back in. So I'm just trying to give you the philosophical discussion about it. So the point is, I think we just do what Steve did today, which I was gonna kind of do next week or sometime, which was to go through the existing charter and this one and make sure those numbers were correct. He has done that. It's just a matter of us getting that information into this proposed charter, and then we're done.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. There's another solution that's been done in the past, which is to have as the final motion in the series of motions to give the town clerk the ability to number
Right,
the.
That's still on the board.
that's still on the board.
Because all of the blue or the new is going to be XXX,
Right,
so they won't have.
right. We don't know what it's gonna be.
Right, we don't know what it's gonna.
And I already talked to Kelly a little bit about that, and she said, let's just see what town meeting spits out. Maybe that's not.
Yeah. No, we can't. go
Yeah,
any-
right.
I agree that's.
So, as Steve said to me today.
But
when
it
we-
will still, excuse me,
I'm sorry,
those XXX, if they are related and somehow to what we already have. They can possibly, no, excuse me, some of the blue is just changed
right,
from our charter. That needs to have the number from our charter, our current charter.
well, it needs to have whatever the proper
Plus
sequence of
XXX.
numbers is, right,
Reference.
right, yeah,
So are you doing all this in Microsoft Word?
yeah.
I'm not doing it.
So how comfortable are you with Excel?
We're not changing our philosophy. Okay, but not, I appreciate there's lots of different ways to do this, Joe, but at this stage of the game, we now have revisions on these documents that we never had in the beginning, which helps myself and Steve and you guys know what copy you're looking at. If we hadn't done that, we would just be giving you a document and you would try to figure out, well, is it this one or that one? So that's helped, I think, manage the documents. But I think it's just an effort of doing that, and you know, in getting this to you guys, and if you wanna sit down and do that comparison between it and the existing charter, print it out and do the checks and, you know.
Mr. Levitt, to Mr. Lawler's point, it sounds like you have a very busy schedule coming up.
It doesn't
So
matter.
We don't wanna put the extra pressure on you.
You're not
What-
putting any pressure.
What's a date that you could give us? that
It's
we
gonna get
could-
done, but you're gonna have it by the end of
Sure.
next week. I go to have surgery on the 8th, you will have it before I go,
So the 7th,
yes. Come hell or high water,
but that's gonna.
don't worry
I'm not
about it.
putting any pressure on
You're
you.
not
Going
putting
into
any
surgery, I
I don't know, it's just that,
Okay, so the
It's-
7th.
it's,
Now, is there
it's,
any way anybody on the committee can help you at this stage?
well, Steve is, it's, you
Okay,
know,
I'm sorry, Steve will be open, all right?
it's an hour of anesthesia and 5 minutes of surgery,
But your recovery is what?
immediate, basically.
All right.
I've already gone out and brought my black eye patch, so I can be, you know, the pirate on the ship.
All right, so thank you.
So-
Oh, sorry, Mr. Lyons, go
Do we
ahead.
have a motion on the floor?
Oh, we do?
Well, I don't
Well,
think we
no,
do.
I forgot. We didn't have a motion for.
So the
renumbering.
only other semi-substantive change is if you go to of our draft document, page 17.
Well, before we get into that, Mr. President, do you have something on the last issue?
We were
Or we
talking,
move into a new issue?
well. I'm not sure the ordering of it, but am I correct that this town council has the opinion that this document goes into effect 10 days after town meeting?
No, town council is of the opinion that it still has to be approved by the legislature.
Ah,
I thought.
That's-
No, she said just by the attorney general.
Sorry, by the.
Right, the attorney general.
At the state level.
okay. That gives us a little bit more time in that case, because, I mean, the town clerk,
Oh, no, in terms of renumbering, yes, we have some time before we submit it and.
okay.
Do that.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Bolton, go right ahead.
That's okay, just so. What we have identified in blue is 5-1-2.
On which page?
I'm on page 17,
Okay, that's-
but it's under chapter 4 elections, section 1. 5-1-2. If you look at our current charter 5-1-2, it's a longer provision, so there needs to be either some strikeouts to that, or we just need to put the 5-1-2 in with a full strikeout and then a new blue.
And I recommend that we do exactly what's in the minutes, which includes everything.
Right, those were the strikeouts, so yes. What date was that? So April, that's April,
16th,
April 16th, so.
So we wanna add in 5-1
it's to
5-1-2
replace what's.
from
from the
April 16th,
existing charter.
right? And do the changes as identified in the April 16th minutes.
So it's 5-1-2 that you see now, cause is that?
That would be the
It doesn't
final
include
result
everything.
if you included all of
This
the
is the existing
strikeouts. and-
5-1-2.
But again, the provision is literally in the April 16th minutes. Identifying the adds, the strikeouts, the changes.
Okay, that's good.
That's
Which is what we've done
right.
in others, we've just.
You thought you
given for this.
So what it says is that notification of date, time, and place of the lottery shall be made public. Wouldn't you wanna add some sort of timing to that? I mean, you would want notice a week before or 2 weeks before.
I remember the discussion and we voted on this, yes, and not to be more specific because the town clerk would be able to decide in the best interest of the town what that timing should be.
Is that what
I mean,
you have out right now?
No, that discussion,
Okay.
Discussion.
I do remember the discussion though, maybe somebody else. did.
What'd you say once again, April 16th?
Yeah,
Give me a second.
Because the existing charter, our current charter says that notification to the candidates and the public shall be made by publication of a local newspaper during the week preceding the week in which the day of the drawing is to take place. Right, and someone tortured a
Well,
sentence.
it's torture, but it does give a window.
Yeah,
Mr. Hammond, go right ahead.
to Joseph's point. If somebody wanted to play games with that, they could post it, at
The day
midnight, the midnight, the day before the lottery.
Yeah, but we had. Not to go over the discussion again, the town clerk is not in the business of playing games. This is something that the town clerk is responsible for. And not only that, but the town clerk is responsible for doing it honestly. And the fact that we're inviting the public at all is just kind of an extra. So I don't think that, I just can't imagine that there are games that are going to be going on. If the
I'm not
town clerk-
casting any aspersions on any individual.
No, on the office.
The point, this is,
But I don't have, I agree, but there's nothing wrong with saying that. That last sentence, notification of the time, date, and place of the lottery shall be made public at least 1 week before the lottery. If we just say it's at least a week, then it's at least a week, and then the town clerk knows, okay, 7 days before, I gotta make sure this is made public.
Okay, so then we have to define whether it's calendar week or business week.
Is this
Oh, no.
an agenda item?
At this time, it is not, but it's, we are going on final review, so we're
Final
discussing
review, so
it.
everything is under.
Everything's on the board.
not to nitpick it, but I think 48 hours notice would be more than enough is.
I'm, again, and I agree, I mean, I think the original reason that it's there a week before is because it was done by newspaper. So we really had, we did not have the immediacy of
We're
notice.
gonna
that we
post
do
it on
now.
the website and be done with it.
So what you're saying is, we post it. Whether anybody sees it, hears about it, understands it's happening, at least we posted it,
Exactly, it has to do with being made public.
right?
It doesn't have to do with the integrity of the town clerk.
So it's no different than when you have to post it, for those of us who have to generate agendas for meetings.
48 hours.
You have a 48 hour, and that's by open meeting law. That's not by something that the town clerk or
But
anybody.
48 hours makes sense under that circumstance, because it is consistent with the open meeting law, the same way people get notice of committees, they should keep an eye out, they should know that, okay, during election season, you should be taking notices, but the town publishes this stuff and it'll get out there.
I don't disagree.
Do we need a motion for
For
that?
the,
We do need a
charter,
motion.
I move it.
that's the way it was in the charter,
A week,
a week.
because it shall be made public in a local newspaper during the week preceding.
Yeah, that was during the week back when we had a.
Yeah, it just said during the week preceding the week in which the day of the drawing is to take place.
Having been a candidate, I don't know, I remember getting noticed to seeing it, I'm sure it was exciting, you always hear through the grapevine, it was gonna be a lot of it, I never.
There were
Did you get noticed?
I get noticed.
I never got
upwards
noticed.
of 2 Hapgoods who showed up.
Well, here's the thing. It possibly could then be put into the notification system of the town, you can sign up what you want to get emails for, it says this is gonna
If you
happen.
wanna withdraw your name.
Right, so let's figure out the words so we
Alright,
can.
so what's the motion, someone's
The
making a
motion
motion,
is 48 hours.
Alright, Mr. Hanlon is
Shall be
making it
made public 48 hours before the lottery.
Second.
at least 40, at least
So
40.
add the section point, end, the following,
you're
at
trying to mimic the open meeting.
At
So it's gonna
least
show up on a website,
48
show up on a newspaper.
hours,
Well, it doesn't have to show up on the newspaper.
Yeah.
Before the lottery.
Before the lottery,
at least 48 hours before
the lottery.
the lottery takes place.
No,
Just before the lottery.
Before the lottery.
Okay.
It's determined by lottery and it's done 48 hours before that lottery. So
Need a second, Mr. Chair.
A second.
The second from Mr. Hutchinson,
Wait.
any
hang on, Len needs to.
catch up on it?
I gotta catch up, you guys, I'm trying to do, okay, this is 512.
512.
Mr. Hanlon has made a
Mr.
motion.
Hanlon made a
since there's
motion,
no one,
Mr. Hutchinson seconded.
What's that, Mr. Kaiser?
since there's no one, voting out of this room, perhaps it could be a show of hands.
I think it could be now, we no longer have anyone on Zoom, so I think you're right, we can certainly do that.
I'm ready.
All right, so there's no discussion. We have a second, there's no discussion, no further discussion. So at this time, we'll take a vote, a show of hands, do 48 hours and 5-2-1, is that right?
It is
Unanimous.
This is the only one of these that we've had. It's really fun, you know?
All right, that resolves that problem.
Small thing.
And.
Oh, I have to do 48 and I have to do the numbers.
Yes, you do.
Let's go 40.
So that's gonna get a remake of the strikeouts.
Yeah.
And all was amended, and now you'll have this
Added
added on.
Yep.
Very good. All right, what else do you have, Mr. Bolton?
I did not have anything else substantive. Everything else I have is something we've already voted on and just needs to be clarified, cleaned up.
Put into the document, okay? Does anyone else have anything that they've seen in the document they have in front of them, or the one on the screen that they'd like to address? Ms.
I'm just gonna
Bolton?
put
Did
this.
I thought I covered everything that you had.
Hey, this is
Okay.
Michelle. I have one item I just noticed
Okay, go right ahead,
on,
Michelle.
on page 10 of your current document.
Okay, what are you seeing?
On the 2XX,
Yeah,
7 members shall be elected for 3 year, the word year, overlapping
Year.
terms.
yeah, that's,
Good catch, yeah. We'll throw that in there.
that's,
This is school committee, right?
yeah, that's just a
Yeah.
typo. Yep.
So it should be 3.
Year.
Yeah, overlapping terms.
Okay.
Very good.
Ticket elected to 3 overlapping terms.
Whatever the hell that means.
Did it for 9 years.
Does that mean they get to swim the 100-meter breaststroke at the Olympics overlapping?
It's like being elected for life.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Anyone have anything further as far as the review? We're gonna see a new finalized, ready to go to town meeting document, maybe after a final perusal in and around the 7th. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. Yeah, get it
Okay.
done.
Going to our last discussion item this evening, we don't have to dwell on it too long, is a charter presentation to caucuses. I'm sure, what I hope everyone would, once we have a schedule of the caucuses, we could, I'm assuming, break up into groups and cover different caucuses as everyone's schedule allowed.
Wow, that's a tall.
Unless someone else has
That'd be a
anything to add.
I will be attending a lot of caucuses for other matters as well, for planning board, so I don't have a problem.
So we have caucuses, we have
Presentation night.
presentation night,
CPC, yes,
COPC,
FinCom,
A and F, and
Yeah.
select board.
yes.
So being naive, is there an order in that what that is done?
I don't know that you can present to your own.
Yeah, so, we're doing a lot of presentations to, why don't we just have one presentation? Who's saying that we have to do all these presentations? Where's the rule we have to go?
Well, it's not a rule, but
I
I
don't
think
know.
it's a hard and
So
fast
my-
rule.
so my question is,
I think as,
Why can't we do-
as an article, you have to go at least in front of the select board and the FinCom, I'm assuming, right?
FinCom is in our charter.
That you have to. go in
Actually, the
front of-
select board, you don't have to, because this
Okay.
is
all
a,
right,
but
So-
we do want them to put the article forward, so it shouldn't be a problem, but yes.
so why do we have to do things like that? Why don't we just?
We
have
usually just- we
a
don't go to the
presentation
caucuses.
For, is it, COPC, right? They have all the.
Well, the presentation
once
night.
There's
upon a
hundred and
time-
sixty-two
Once
town
upon a
meeting
time, in
members.
days of old, when we had a thing called presentation forums,
Yeah,
you did the select one, that's pretty much, yeah, do FinCom. Then you did the presentation forum, and part of the reason for the presentation forum before the precinct chairs. Well, was to do away with going to every
Doing it 19 times.
15 or now 18 precinct caucus.
okay.
So you did one presentation
Yeah,
and town meeting members could be there. Now they can do
Lee
Zoom.
is suggesting going back to that, cause it's like, so 1 year.
Well, it's in there, it's in the,
yeah, but why can't we do something like that?
Because precinct 3 is going to discuss the charter at one of its next 2 meetings. And do we want do we want them to be talking without the guidance of one of us?
Well, of course you would be there.
Tim, I think it's a proven fact, at least in my experience, that if you make the effort to go around to the precincts and get in front of the vast majority of the 162 town meeting members,
Right,
the chances of your success uh, are exponentially higher.
okay,
So
so.
you have to be at that precinct three meeting.
It is an unfortunate reality.
Yeah,
Is
but
it?
I have,
Because I agree with,
I
I
have
agree,
proven experience,
yeah,
right? I have, hello, alright?
I,
So what I'm suggesting, because I have proven experience, is why don't we, just hold a meeting like the day of the roll?
Presentation forum?
Yeah,
well, there will be one, there will be a presentation
Two.
forum.
but to each and every precinct. Huh?
I don't know. that
Well,
they-
some precincts meet together.
What's that?
Yeah,
This
A
may be
couple of-
one, this may be one that
Not-
we
not
actually
very
ask
many.
the COPC
Organize
Given-
that.
to organize at least some
So that-
combined forms for the sole purpose of discussing this.
So then there would only be 9, maybe.
Or whatever the COPC decides.
Or maybe they'd be able to have 3.
If,
Yeah, I'd like
if
to see
precinct
if they
three
could
is
then
meeting,
even three
right?
together.
So
Are they
that-
gonna have
Six.
a final copy of this to talk about?
Hope so. Well, they'll have it available. I mean, it'll be on, given our chair, they probably will have it.
Yeah, but we're not
It is
gonna-
in the paper.
We're not gonna let this out.
We're gonna put it up on the CRC website. It's up there now, but not in in the final version. We put it up a week ago.
It'll be in
Yeah.
October. Or
Yeah.
late September.
Yeah, but it's not our final, right?
Right.
Alright, so what I am suggesting is that we go back to a presentation to all of the precincts. Rather than individual precincts. It's a come here and discuss.
I would love it if that were the reality, but it's not.
Well, wait a minute, but here. Can the COPC kind of organize, can they
COPC can have it
organize
as-
that? Maybe it's not all the precincts, you know. I heard Lee
But
one
any,
time,
but any precinct.
I
that
heard Lee
doesn't
one
get the-
time say,
doesn't
why don't
get
they
the-
Are you asking if the COPC can tell precinct 10 and precinct 11 and precinct 12 to meet together?
No.
They can't.
No,
okay,
Yeah,
And
be
as
careful,
as a chairman of precinct 10, I wouldn't do it.
yeah, and be careful because they meet once a month. And
Now, you can
it's,
go in front of precinct chairs and that's your best representation of all 18 precincts, but
but you feel besides doing that, you need to go before each precinct, the caucus and.
undoubtedly, you have to do it. Now, I'm not suggesting this committee has to do it.
there
I
are
would
2
do it.
left.
If we have stand any chance of being successful, we have to make those meetings. And I'm not asking anybody to make the meetings if it's into your schedule. I'll make the meetings, but you have to be there.
No, I wasn't saying that.
I know, I'm not saying that, but to consolidate it, I think you run the risk, there's a couple things, when you would do that, if you do it too early. And people don't have it fresh in their mind, I think you have to, the caucuses are the very last minute, I hold my caucus the very last night before town meeting. On a Thursday night, cause that's the freshest information, that's the newest information. This might change 3 or 4 times.
And I think you do it too late because.
Well-
Because you don't give anybody the opportunity at that point, if they have questions, enough time to get an answer from a third party source.
And
It's worked pretty good, but maybe, Mr. Hanlon, go ahead.
So, my suggestion is this. That the precinct chairs have a presentation forum,
Right.
maybe focused on this one issue. This is a huge issue for this October. I don't know what else is on the warrant. Well, the land bank, but, you know, maybe they have a special one for the land bank too, but this is a huge issue that is where an organized, professionally done presentation by the 3 amigos here and on television in front of the precinct chairs a month before town meeting. Town meeting is on October 19th. Then, when a delegation goes to each of the precinct caucuses to answer questions.
Yep.
But not to make a presentation at each precinct caucus. You have one presentation. Before the selectmen, this. FinCom and the COPC.
I'm with you, it's a great idea, and I think I might have a little juice. We have the ability to meet twice a month as committee of precinct chairs. We meet the third Thursday and tentatively, I think, the first Monday, second Monday, whatever this is called. We don't meet very often. But I will ask the chairperson of the committee of precinct chairs to dedicate one of the September Monday night meetings to be totally dedicated to the charter review.
And you're saying
Think
doing it,
that'll work.
you're saying that doing it at the COPC meeting as opposed to having a meeting where, and anybody that's in any of the caucuses who wanna come to the Great Hall and sit in the audience and listen,
Well, they can do that.
They can do that.
They can absolutely.
that's the way to do it, because one of my concerns is the messaging around this is gotta be very clear of what we're trying to do. And because if we don't pay attention to the messaging around this, then it's gonna get really kind of creating all this.
I agree.
All the more reason to have one.
That's right.
One
presentation.
That's
dedicated
one,
COPC
one,
meeting.
yeah, right.
Mr. Pies and Mr. Lawler.
Okay. There are two things that happen at precinct meetings. One is it's presented. Almost as important, you get to hear what the problems are possibly going to be, and it gives you a preparation for those problems. So, yeah, you can have the presentation night, which is from here out. And people are going to sit there and listen, and a few people will say something, but not very many. And at least in my precinct, there are no shy people. And, you know, the words will come out and we will hear, okay, there are no problems whatsoever where we think this is the most wonderful document in the history of mankind, or, you know, these three matters. Oh, we only thought there were two matters that were of interest, and we can prepare for that, but that won't occur in any setting bigger than a caucus. The response from the town meeting members, so that when we get to the floor,
You mean
we
the
ought to know
questions?
what's going to
Not-
be the issue.
Not just questions, I agree, Larry's absolutely right, it's not just questions, but it's commentary, and and I'll be honest, to some degree, it's misperceptions too. Someone may read something and misread it, not understand what we were trying to accomplish and say, oh, this means this. It's very helpful to know that people are misunderstanding something so that you have the ability to correct it. Not necessarily correct the page, but actually make that statement. And when we're making a presentation at town meeting itself, be able to do that. I certainly have seen that, as I've experienced it as well in articles that I put forward for planning board. Where people say, oh, this means this. No, I'm sorry. That's not what it means. It actually means something different.
So then there's two, there's a presentation to COPC.
Right.
And select
And
board
then-
and FinCom.
And then, yeah, and then it's broken down, you're suggesting we should continue to break it down.
To
To the
support
caucus.
the ones, yeah, go to the caucuses that.
As you get discussions.
And with 9 of us, it shouldn't be an onerous responsibility.
Right, each one of us could go to two, looking at it that way.
Yeah, and there won't be 18, there'll probably be.
There's a handful, like Martha suggested, that
meet
get
together.
together.
So let me ask you a procedural question. We have this presentation night, and between then and the caucuses, we can't change this document. It's
No,
now,
it's
it's
not-
cast in
it's not.
concrete, because the only way we could change it is to come back to committee, go through that, and then we just
Right.
blown it up.
No,
Because
it's not about
No.
making more revisions.
No, I'm just asking, I'm just
No.
asking.
For sure, it's not
Well,
making.
can't, once you put it on the table, it's final.
Can't is a harsh word,
Well, you know what I mean.
but I mean, shouldn't, you
Sure,
know.
okay, thank you for,
Well,
I'm not-
I guess if there's something that we've truly missed, or that we can
Yeah,
always
it precludes us.
amend the town floor.
right.
Yeah.
If we say,
I mean,
okay,
if you, town meeting members have complained that there are changes that go on the week before
But-
town meeting.
But you're absolutely right, because I had a neighbor who came to me and said, they're gonna build affordable housing in the Pine Hills. I said, where'd you get that idea? Well, I heard that they're gonna do, the MBTA is making us build affordable housing in the Pine Hills. And I said, no. And they were talking to the MBTA.
On your
community.
street.
Right,
No space on my street.
right. But then you're right, that's the kind of stuff that if you don't nip that in the bud,
I get it.
it'll just,
I get it.
you know,
I'd like to speak in favor of us attending the caucuses in addition to.
Right,
a
I think so.
presentation.
Well, that was what I proposed. I didn't say don't go to the caucuses.
I just
We
need
got
to,
it.
we need to know what alternatives were, that's all, I got it.
I just think it's in our best interest to
I got
get in
it.
front of as many people as we
I
can.
got it, yeah.
To Larry's point, if somebody has concerns, we can head them off, we'll
It
know
would
about
be,
them.
it would be
address
wonderful if we didn't have to do it, but the reality
we have
is,
to do.
you have to, because it would be wonderful if presentation night basically turned into sort of a pre-town meeting discussion, but it doesn't. It's just really a presentation. No one, as Larry said,
Right.
they don't ask questions.
If we're gonna. I think we need to have an understanding, this is at least my belief anyway, that we are not going to the precinct caucuses to make presentations. We're there to listen to commentary and
Answer questions.
receive feedback and answer questions.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, because if you start making the presentation over.
Yeah, you're gonna get 9 different
Larry,
people.
you're gonna
making
start
9
confusing
different
me.
presentations.
Go to the caucuses,
And that was one of the
they
things
haven't
that
even opened up the books.
one of the
Not
suggestions.
precinct three.
No, I'm just, where it all began. So, no, but I'm just saying, in the experience, right?
Yeah, I know.
So, you know, to go with Mike said,
Yep.
is really the thing, right?
It'll be what it ends up being.
I wanted to.
I think you're gonna go there, you're gonna go to the podium at each card, you're gonna talk for 2 or 3 minutes, a general overview of what we did, maybe what our hope was to achieve over the last 2 years. And hopefully people have had the opportunity to go over it, because it's gonna be in the book in its entirety. Never mind what we send out on the website. And then you'll have the opportunity to address questions, especially if someone has concerns.
But one of the things that we had talked about doing, and I still feel it's a good idea, is to do a chapter by chapter brief summary of the most important, of the substantive changes.
When can you have that done by?
On the 7th at 9:30 at night.
Yeah.
I
But
would
you have,
Watch your email, it'll come
I have
flying
already
down.
started, I have already started working on it.
but you have to make
Remember
sure
how
it's
the
nice
week
and
did it?
tame, so the audience understands.
Yeah, no big words.
This,
Steve.
and I'm gonna use it as a model,
Yeah.
but I have.
Alright, so we have a good plan, we're gonna hit the major boards, select board, FinCom, COPC, we'll work on that. In caucuses as our schedules allow. Everybody's on board with
Well,
that?
you know, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Ms. Voltrain, then Mr. Law.
Right on the front here of what we did get, please send your comments to Charter Review at Plymouth. So this is the front page of what's on the website. I
Right.
assume, I haven't gone there
Yes.
myself yet.
And the reason I did
So-
that is, sorry.
So
I
what,
did-
my question is, so what are we going to do with the comments that we get?
Michelle
How are
will
we
give
gonna
them to us.
handle? So Michelle is gonna send them to our committee through an email when she gets them, or,
We'll send
I
it,
ask her if she's on the thing to ask her.
and Michelle can send.
well, how would we like her?
Michelle.
She'll send it to me and
I'll
I'll send them out to the
We'll
committee.
either, and see if there's a reason to meet for discussion of any of those.
Well, that was my idea when I gave her the charter to put up on the website. I said, you look at it, you tell what we did, and they did that, and I said, well, we need to have a place to tell people where to send feedback, and that I decided it was better to give that one, because that would,
Oh, that's good.
that's the one, so that's how that cover sheet, I kind of did that on my own initiative, I
Do
did.
we have a Facebook page too?
No, we don't.
Then is this
And-
right here, 729-1, up on the website right now?
No, I forget which one's up on the website, Michelle? 22, I think.
No, the one that Tim just said, that 729-1.
That's right, we updated that, right, and so we're gonna be putting a new one up after we do all these edits.
Okay, great.
There's actually two of them up right now, so they both have the revision dates.
Yeah, they're all good.
All right.
Michelle, are we gonna take them both down? Both of the current ones down and then replace those two with 730,
Yes,
we're not gonna leave the old stuff
That's
on.
up to the committee to tell me if they want all of the different drafts up, and then you'll have a final and it will be marked final.
I think it makes, Mr. Lawler makes a
So I have a
suggestion.
suggestion,
Yep, go right ahead.
and, if you wanna talk about, it, let's do so. I think that the only revisions that we should have up on the web right now is our current one that we're working on, right?
latest-
Nothing that's.
the latest
version.
The latest.
I agree.
So we just have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Michelle, did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Oh, very good. Sorry about that. And
Loud
just
and
quickly,
clear.
do we have any way of monitoring the activity on that, website?
Sure, I mean, I get the emails every day. I'm on that email page every day, and you know, there, if an email comes in, you'll receive it.
And has it been, I guess my question is has it been activity?
Utah
can
is
you tell?
downloadable. Is that what you're asking?
You're talking about how many hits get to our page.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, that I don't know. That's behind the scenes stuff. I would have to ask IT that question.
okay, okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, so we'll have the most current one. I just wanna know if people were following, you know, vast amount of people were following the
Right.
different.
But you only want one document. up
Yeah,
there,
you don't want
that's
any
the current one that we're working.
Nope, makes all the sense in the world. All right, any new or old business that the board committee would like to speak of this evening? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
The Pfizer makes the motion, Mr. Hanlon seconds it, all in favor of adjourning? Thank you very much.